Why the souls that shine the brightest often rise from the darkest places. Why those who feel the world's pain so deeply are the very ones born into chaos. There's something hidden behind this mystery, something most people never dare to look at. But if you listen till the end, you'll see what the world kept secret from you all along. Why is it that the ones who sense everything, who see through the noise and false smiles, are often the black sheep in their own homes, the misunderstood ones, the quiet observers who carry storms in their hearts? You might have spent your life feeling like the outsider, the one who feels too much, loves too deeply, and thinks too differently. But what if I told you none of that was by accident? Before we go deeper, if you're drawn to exploring the unseen layers of the human soul, take a second to subscribe to SYC Soul, hit the bell icon, and like this video so you don't miss what's coming next. Now, Carl Jung, the great psychologist and spiritual thinker, believed that every soul arrives on this earth with a hidden purpose to become the truest version of itself. But for some souls, the path begins not in peace, but in pain. For those chosen to raise consciousness, their transformation starts inside broken families, in homes filled with control, rejection, or silence. It's no coincidence that your childhood felt like a battlefield. Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." Yet who you are doesn't emerge from comfort. It's carved in chaos. When you're surrounded by emotional manipulation or neglect, something powerful awakens in you. The hunger to find love that isn't tainted by pain. That love doesn't come from your family. It comes from Source itself. Call it God, the universe, or your higher self. The toxic home becomes your initiation, the soul's training ground. That pressure, that constant invalidation, isn't destroying you. It's shaping you. Each time you were made to doubt your worth, your spirit turned inward and reached higher, toward the divine. The moment you realize that your pain was never random, something within you begins to shift. Every harsh word, every silent punishment, every time you were unseen, it all forced you to discover a strength that can't be taught. Carl Jung believed that transformation is born when the unconscious becomes conscious, when the hidden shadow is finally brought into light. And that's what your soul has been doing all along, turning darkness into awareness. You were never meant to drown in the dysfunction. You were meant to decode it. When your family tried to make you smaller, you learned to stand taller. When they mocked your intuition, you learned to trust the quiet voice within. That is how the chosen one is formed, not in comfort, but in contrast. While others sleep inside illusions, you are forced awake early. You had to understand love through its absence, to recognize peace by surviving chaos. Jung taught that the shadow, that unseen wounded part of the psyche, isn't an enemy to destroy, but a teacher to integrate. You were born into darkness not to become it, but to study its language, to survive it, and eventually to turn it into light. Every moment of being ignored, doubted, or silenced built something unstoppable in you, a kind of spiritual immunity. You learned to listen to your inner voice, louder than the world's noise. You learned that validation is not oxygen, and that self-trust is sacred. And here lies the truth most never see. Your soul didn't come here for an easy story. It came for mastery. Because the light can never feel safe until it has learned to live in the shadow. Some families are spiritual prisons disguised as homes, but the moment you see the bars, you're already breaking free. If your home once felt like a battlefield of emotions, it wasn't a curse. It was your awakening. Carl Jung described the family as the first landscape of the soul, the place where the roots of identity grow. Yet when that ground is poisoned by manipulation, shame, or silence, something remarkable happens. The spirit begins to seek its own soil. You may have felt like the outsider, the one who never belonged, But Jung would say that was never your flaw. It was your initiation. When love is withheld, the heart becomes its own source. When truth is mocked, the mind learns to see beyond illusion. And when your light is rejected, it learns to shine without permission. A toxic family isn't an accident. It's a karmic classroom where your strength is tested and your awareness forged. You didn't enter that storm to be destroyed by it. You entered to rise above it. Each time you were punished for being authentic, you were actually being pushed toward awakening. Each time your emotions were dismissed, you were being trained to validate yourself. When Carl Jung spoke of the shadow, he meant more than the darkness within a person. He spoke of the darkness within a lineage. Families carry invisible patterns of trauma, passed down through generations, waiting for one brave soul to end them. And that soul is usually the one they call too sensitive, too intense, or too different. If those words have ever been used against you, take them as proof of your purpose. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to break the pattern. That's why the world around you felt so heavy. Your light was never meant to fit inside those walls. And before we go deeper, I'd love to know, are you connecting with what I'm saying? Tell me in the comments where you're watching this from. I truly read your words, and they help me understand how far this message is reaching. You see, every chosen soul carries a quiet rebellion inside, the courage to stop repeating what broke them. That's why your pain feels ancient, like it belongs to more than just you. Because it does. You're healing what generations could not face. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." That's exactly what happens in families that carry old pain, unspoken resentment, inherited fears, and emotional wounds passed like invisible heirlooms. They repeat what they don't understand, and those patterns live through generations until someone like you decides to face them. You were never the problem. You were the solution arriving in human form. The one who sees what others deny. The one who feels what others know. The one who refuses to keep pretending. And because of that, life had to shake you awake. The cracks in your family were not meant to break you. They were meant to reveal the light trapped inside. Jung believed that every soul carries both shadow and light, and that true wholeness comes only when we stop running from either. Maybe that's why you were placed in a home full of contradictions. Love mixed with control, affection laced with fear. It was all designed to make you aware of both sides within yourself. As you began to see the truth, you probably started noticing how others repeated the same stories again and again. How pain disguised itself as tradition. How guilt was mistaken for love. But while others kept turning in circles, something inside you whispered, there must be another way. That whisper was your awakening. And once that voice becomes louder than the noise around you, there's no going back. The awakening is irreversible. You can't unsee what you now know. You can't return to smallness after touching awareness. The light demands that you live differently, consciously. It's strange, isn't it? How the very people who caused your wounds also gave you the map to your higher self. Through their chaos, you found clarity. Through their silence, you learned to hear your own voice. Through their rejection, you learned self-acceptance. Jung might say your pain was the doorway through which your soul entered its purpose. And maybe, without those difficult beginnings, you would have never found the strength to become who you are always meant to be. There comes a moment when you stop asking, "Why me?" and begin whispering, "Thank you." It's not about thanking the pain, but the wisdom it gave you. Carl Jung believed that the process of individuation, the journey toward wholeness, begins when we stop blaming the outer world and start listening to what the soul has been trying to say all along. You weren't sent into that family to fit in. You were sent to awaken. Every argument, every rejection, every night you cried alone was part of your spiritual training. It sculpted empathy where there could have been ego. It built discernment where others only see emotion. You became the mirror that shows what others refuse to see in themselves. And yes, it's lonely. Being awake in a world still asleep often feels like exile. But exile has a purpose. It strips away illusion. It teaches you that belonging doesn't come from blood. It comes from alignment. The moment you accept that, you stop chasing love and start radiating it. Jung once wrote that the wound is the place where the light enters you. Think about that. Your wound isn't a weakness. It's a doorway. Every scar you carry is a map of your transformation. The family that misunderstood you only helped reveal the one thing they couldn't destroy, your soul. You are the bridge between what was and what can be. You are the breaking point of old pain, the healer of ancestral echoes. Through you, the story changes. That's why life keeps testing you, not to punish, but to confirm your strength. When you heal, you don't just free yourself. You free every soul connected to your lineage. You shift the timeline. You alter destiny. That's why awakening feels so heavy, because it carries the weight of generations. And if you've made it this far, your soul already knows the truth. You didn't survive to remain broken. You survived to rebuild the meaning of love, peace, and truth itself. Carl Jung believed that the soul's purpose isn't to live without pain. It's to transform it into meaning. Every trial you faced has been a sacred conversation between your ego and your essence, a dialogue meant to wake you from illusion. The moment you stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and instead ask, "What is this trying to show me?" that's when your real evolution begins. You were never cursed by your circumstances. You were called by them. The universe didn't choose you because you were weak. It chose you because you were ready. Ready to see what others avoid, to feel what others suppress, to break the patterns that no one before you dared to face. And through you, the whole story of your bloodline begins to change. When you face the darkness consciously, it no longer controls you. That's the essence of Jung's shadow work, to bring awareness to what was hidden, so that it can finally serve your light. Your healing doesn't just repair your past. It rewrites your future. You become the living proof that even in the deepest pain, divinity is still present. So now, when you look back at your story, the rejection, the misunderstandings, the heartbreak, see them as teachers, not enemies. Each one guided you back to your truth. Each one shaped you into someone who understands what love truly is. And that love isn't fragile anymore. It's sacred, it's wise, it's awake. You've stepped out of the old story now. You're no longer the child waiting for permission to be seen. You are the one who sees. You are the one who knows. You are the one who will turn pain into purpose and silence into voice. And if these words have reached you, if something inside you felt recognized, then this message was meant for you. So take a deep breath and remember, your story was never about suffering. It was about awakening. If this journey touched your heart, subscribe to SYC Soul, like this video, and share it with someone who needs light in their darkness. Tap the bell icon so you don't miss the next truth that might just change everything. Your healing is not the end. It's the beginning of who you were always meant to be.